Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to another afternoon transfer news show. A little bit later than usual today, I think, but still, I'm here and we are going to be talking about a lot of big transfer stories. Of course, I didn't do one yesterday, so actually, there's quite a little backlog as well, but a lot of important news that has come up, a lot of things that have been talked about, and there's a lot for us to get through. There is a lot for us to get through. So, get in the comments, share your thoughts, of course. I put in the description the things that we're going to talk about. So do you know if you have anything to share, put in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, of course. Also remember to smash like on this video if you enjoyed it. And we're getting very close to 450 subscribers on YouTube. We're on 449. So please do subscribe to our channel and help us cross that mark by the end of this video. So yeah, let's get right into it, of course, and do as I said, put in comments. Let's have an interactive chat. Let's talk about what's going on. And let's get right into it. So, right at the bat, as it says in the caption, Barcelona and Manchester City are in a transfer fight for Dani Olmo. It is something that Dani Olmo, of course, has been of interest for Barcelona for quite some time now. There was talk of Bayern being interested, but Bayern are now fully focused on Desiree Doue. They do not want to do a deal for either Xavi Simon or Dani Olmo. They want to bring him, and we'll talk about that Desiree Doue in a moment. But at the moment, it's the fight for Dani Olmo is between Barcelona and Manchester City. Now, what I'm interested in seeing is that obviously there was a release clause, I think about 60 million euros that was there for Dani Olmo. If they wanted him, why did nobody actually go for him at that point? But apparently now City and Barcelona are now interested once that release clause expired. So it is a bit strange, but at the same time, I understand from Barcelona's point of view why, and I'll explain why Barcelona have an issue there. But I don't know if City were really interested in why didn't they go for him when his release clause was available. But nonetheless, there is a tussle. So Manchester City have made, I think, an offer, and Leipzig are considering it. But at the same time, almost preference is that he wants to go to Spain. He wants to play in Spain, and he wants to play for Barcelona. That is his preference. But Barcelona can't afford a transfer fee unless they sell a few players. And they haven't sold any players up to this point. So that is still sort of the negotiation has stalled there. So at the moment, I would say Manchester City probably are leading this race because they have made a bid. They have made, an offer, and obviously Leipzig will accept an offer as long as it meets their condition, which is they want, I think, over 60 million euros for him because that was the release clause. They want more than that now, of course. So at this moment in time, Manchester City have made an offer. They are interested, and they lead the race simply because they're the only ones who have made an offer. But Dani Olmo, of course, is more interested in going to Barcelona because he's Spanish and all of that. So, and he wants to play in Spain rather than in England. So, at the moment, it is kind of like a stalemate. It's that the player wants to go to Barcelona, but City are the club that have made a bid. Obviously, Barcelona don't have the money. They're skint. They need to sell players in order to be able to fund this transfer. So, will they be able to find the money? I think that is a question that I have. They always seem to find the money from somewhere, no matter. And as I say this every time on the show, it's like a broken record at this point, but I say it all the time. They seem to be broke, but they still are able to do all these big deals. They're not selling that many players for that much big money, but they still manage to get deals done. So I'm not sure how it happens, but they do it. Now they might be able to get this one over the line as well. So I do see why City need Olmo though. I think at the same time, though, why do City need almost? It's a question that we ask. Why do? Because Pep Guardiola has said he wants to keep McAtee, who plays as a number 10. Phil Foden can play as a number 10, but he can also play on the wing. If we say that if we assume that City play with sort of a like a 4 across, normally they play a box midfield, so they play 3-2-4-1. So we talk about those 4 players behind Erling Haaland. If we say there's 4 players behind Erling Haaland, now for those 4 players, they've got Doku, they've got Grealish, they've got Foden, they've got De Bruyne, they've got Bernardo Silva, they've just got Savio as well. Pep Guardiola said he wants to keep McAtee. So you've got 7 players already. And I'm pretty sure I'm missing somebody there. Julian Alvarez as well can play there as well, although he might be competing with Haaland for a front line, front spot. But maybe not. We might include that there. But they've got 8 if you count him as well. And I'm pretty sure there's probably another 1 or 2 players that I'm missing. I'm not going to count players like Bob and stuff because Bob obviously is someone who's still learning his trade. I don't think he's going to be competing for a first team spot. I don't think he's going to be someone who's going to be seriously considering for a first team spot. So they've only got 7 players for 4 positions. And that's not even like looking at and I'm not even counted players that maybe could play there who don't play in that position. So it's just interesting. They want an 8th player. They want Dani Olmo as well in there. When you already got so many players and you want to bring in Dani Olmo as well, to me it is just so interesting. Now that could be, of course, they could probably be looking at selling Jack Grealish off. I think Jack Grealish is someone who might very well be leaving before this transfer window ends. I'm not sure. But even otherwise, it's just City just keep wanting to build stack team after stack team after stack team. And that's why Manchester City win the league, because they have so much depth, so much squad depth, and they keep adding to it. So I can see I can see where he fits in, and I can see that he will be challenging for a first team spot, because that's what will happen. But at the same time, I mean, let's hope that deal doesn't go through for all of our sakes. Let's hope that deal doesn't go through, because damn, Manchester City are they're already a super team. How much more of a super team do they want to be? But yeah, at the moment it is you would hope, as a Premier League fan, that he almost chooses to go to Spain, and that Barcelona can somehow find some cash from under the sofa or something to sign him. Because if he goes to Manchester City, then again the question comes back, like, who's going to stop Manchester City? But yeah, but that is a deal that will, I think that is a thing now that we'll have to wait and see how that progresses. I feel he will go to Manchester City. I feel that deal will end up. It's the same as Lenny Yoro, because Yoro wanted to go to Madrid, but Madrid never made a bid because they kept wanting to pay less, or they didn't want to pay what Lille wanted, and they thought that we could wait till the end of the window and then get that deal done. But ultimately, United made the bid. Lille said, "Well, pick that," and they put pressure on the player to say, "Go, go, go," because you've already got this bid. Go there, go there. And then eventually he was like, "Yeah, Madrid, they plan to play games. I'm just gonna go there." And that could happen with Olmo as well. Now, the one thing that is in Olmo's favor is in Barcelona's favor, is that Olmo is not under much rush to want to leave Leipzig. Yoro wanted to leave Lille. I think almost okay and happy at Leipzig. He's not so worried about where he ends up. So maybe he'll be thinking, if I don't get to go to Barcelona this season, I'll just stick it out at Leipzig for another year. That could be the case. As I said, Leipzig, have no reason to not believe that they could challenge for the Bundesliga this season. They are going to be in the Champions League as well. Bayern do look a bit shaky, and then you've got Dortmund, you've got Leverkusen, you've got Leipzig. They have to be looking at trying to win the league this season, because now that Bayern's stranglehold has been broken. That's not to say Bayern cannot win the league this season. But what I mean is that other teams now should start believing that they can win the league, more often, rather than 1 year gap and then Bayern start another 10 years of dominance. So so I think so there is an opportunity there as well, that Leipzig might be able to convince Olmo that we are going to challenge for the league, and that is something to play for. So he might very well think that if I don't get to go to Spain, I will stay at Leipzig, and I don't have a problem with that. That could happen, but at the same time, I think Manchester City, if they can get a good financial package together, because money talks, and City can pay him more than Leipzig will pay him, he might very well think, what, if my stock is high, I should go now because I'm getting these wages. If I don't have a good season, if I suffer a serious injury, then what happens? I won't get to go to Barcelona. I won't even get to go to Manchester City. So there are things to consider. I feel at this point the advantage for Barcelona in that sense is the fact that they will have a little bit more time to collect the money than probably Madrid had for Euro. But at the same time, I don't think they can wait too long. So, and I don't see which player is going. I mean, they'll probably have to, I wonder which players that they're going to try to offload in order to make this sale happen. You probably think maybe Ferran Torres, maybe Rafinha, maybe one or two of those players might be able to get some money out of that. But yeah, we'll have to wait and watch. For that one. We'll move on from that, but share your comments on that. Of course, the other big news, of course, is that Noussair Mazraoui, West Ham United have made a bid that has been accepted by Bayern Munich for him. 50 million euros plus 4.5 million euros in add-ons, so comes to about 20 million euros, which is what we were saying, 25 million euros. It kind of comes to that. I say you what, I'll say this, that I think that is a steal. And now I can understand why Manchester United were open to letting wan-Bissaka go for 10 million pounds, because if you can get Mazraoui for 15 million euros, that is a steal. That is a steal of a deal. And West Ham, of course, they haven't closed it yet. There's still, few financial things to work out, so it's not done yet. And Manchester United are not completely out of the race, but at this moment in time, West Ham are leading because they made a bid. It has been accepted. Manchester United need to sell before they can buy any players. They need to sell wan-Bissaka before they can make a move for Mazraoui. So at this point, it is looking likely that Mazraoui is going to go to West Ham United. And you know what? I've got to say that's well done to West Ham United, because as much as we can sit here and say, well, wan-Bissaka, West Ham United done this again, right? As much as we can say that wan-Bissaka has not been sold, the fact is, West Ham didn't want to pay 20 million pounds for wan-Bissaka. I think it's a fair price. You might think it's a fair price, or you may not. But I thought 20 million pounds is a fair price for wan-Bissaka. West Ham didn't want to pay that. They said, no, we're not going to pay any more than 15 million pounds. United stood firm, said, no, we want 20. And West Ham said, you know what, Mazraoui is available. He's, available for 15 million euros, much cheaper than wan-Bissaka, younger than wan-Bissaka. We're going to sign him. We don't need to sign, Wan-Bissaka will just move on to another target. So well played to West Ham for that. I can't begrudge them that. What I will say though is that this is the second time that West Ham have done this to Manchester United. Even last season they were supposed to sign Maguire, pulled out, and then Maguire didn't leave and he ended up staying. And now the same has happened with Wan-Bissaka. And he's now there's talk that so we'll talk about what happens with Wan-Bissaka. But for Mazraoui, I mean, West Ham have done a very good deal. They've done a very good deal. And I wonder if Bayern are doing this to stick it to Manchester United as well. Like, don't rule that out. Don't rule that out. The fact that that Bayern might have said, you know what, we wanted maybe 25, but because we want to stick it to Manchester United, we'll do a deal with you for 15 million euros. Don't rule that out. Don't rule that possibility out that Bayern might have done it as well to stick it to Manchester United. I'm not saying they took a loss on him, but I'm saying they might have been more amenable to do a quick deal with West Ham just to stick it to United to say, you tried to lowball us and shortchange us for Delict. Here's what we're doing to you, with regards to Wan-Bissaka and Mazraoui. So could have been that way as well. But nonetheless, it's a good deal for West Ham. Whatever the case may be, it's a great deal for West Ham United for sure. On that note, of course, what happens to Wan-Bissaka now? It's a question. It's a big topic. There is talk now that Manchester United are considering a swap deal between Wan-Bissaka and Dumfries, and that's probably one alternative route. I can't see that deal happening. I think it's a lot of bollocks. If you ask me, I think it's bullshit. I think this might have been planted by Dumfries' agent. This might have been planted by Wan-Bissaka's agent. This might have been planted by Manchester United. Somebody has planted this because I can't see this happening. And the reason why I can't see it happening is that I just don't see how Wan-Bissaka fits into Inter as a wingback. Inter don't play with fullbacks. They play with the wingbacks. Wan-Bissaka is not a wingback. He's a fullback, but he's not even that great of a fullback, a modern fullback. He does defend really well. He can't play as a centre back in a back three. He can't do that, and he can't play as a wing back. He's pretty much an old school fullback in that he's very good defensively, but he's not very good at offensively. So you don't get much offensive output from him, but you get quite a bit of defensive output from him. But even then it's not to the level that you expect. But nonetheless, the point is that I just don't see how Inter would be interested in him, and I just don't see why Manchester United would be interested in Dumfries, because Dumfries is not even a starter for Netherlands anymore. Not that means a lot, but he's not, and he's very much an offensive wingback. He's very much he's very good going forward. He's not that good defensively. The little that I've seen of him, he's okay without being great. Dumfries would be a number 2 signing, but that's okay, I suppose, because they're not looking for a number 1 right back at this moment, probably. So, but it just seems off. Like the mechanics of the deal just seem off, because I don't see Dumfries fitting in Manchester United. I can see Ten Hag will try, but I think it's the Dutch link thing that they're putting in, but I just don't see how Dumfries fits in for Ten Hag. And I don't see how Wan-Bissaka, more important than that, I don't see how Wan-Bissaka fits in at Inter Milan. I just don't see it. So I would have to call BS on it. Now this thing could have been possible under Conte. Conte was trying to sign a lot of Premier League players for Inter Milan, so it could have happened then. But right now, with Inzaghi, it just doesn't make sense to me. Unless Inzaghi sees something in Wan-Bissaka that we haven't seen, and he says, right, he can be my centre back. He can be a third centre back, it won't be a starting centre back, but maybe when I need to change, I can use him as my third centre back. Unless he sees that, which I don't, and I think a lot of people don't, I just don't see how he fits in. And let's not forget one more important thing. Inzaghi plays very much a possession-oriented, vertical football. Wan-Bissaka can't play that kind of football. That's one of the reasons why he doesn't start more often for Manchester United, is because he can't do that he can't do that one-touch, quick passing movement. He can't do all that. He's not very good at that. So again, how does he fit in Inter? So I think that's a bullshit story. I feel Wan-Bissaka is, and it might very well have been planted by Wan-Bissaka's agent or Manchester United to say, oh look, Inter Milan are interested in Wan-Bissaka, so he must be somewhat of a good player. Come sign him. Come sign him. That might be the thing. So I see. I don't see Wan-Bissaka leaving this summer. I know there was a talk about Manchester United having a list of 7 players that they're selling. And I was just wondering, well, who's going to buy these players, right? Who's going to buy these players? And that's the big issue for Manchester United right now, is that there's so many unwanted players because of, the wages that they are paying them. It is unbelievable how many players, and those players don't want to leave. They don't want to go. They're all, they've all come on big wages. They don't want to lose that money. I don't blame them for that. Obviously, if you're getting, a lot of money, you don't want to leave that on the table. But what it shows is that these players should never have been signed in the first place. They should never have been signed in the first place, because these are all players who are more motivated who came to United motivated by money rather than rather than other reasons, other than footballing reasons, and now they don't want to leave because they don't care. I mean, Jadon Sancho has shown that he is okay. Jadon Sancho is on that list, by the way, and Jadon Sancho has shown that he is okay to stay at Manchester United for 4 months without playing a single minute of football and earning 350 grand in wages and playing on his PlayStation rather than actually playing football. Right? He was lucky that Dortmund took him, and he's probably thinking the same thing, that he's not going to go. Right? He's not going to take a pay cut. He's simply going to wait it out, and if United don't want him, he'll be like, fine, send me on loan. No other club wants me anyway. I'll go on loan and do whatever I have to do. So I just don't. Yeah, I mean, it's just that 7 players list that they've said that they want to put for sale. I just don't see who's going to buy them unless United really reduce their asking price. I mean, if you're getting Mazraoui for 15 million euros, why would you buy wan-Bissaka for 20 million? It's just simple economics. You wouldn't. And wan-Bissaka, by the way, his wage demands would have been higher than Mazraoui's as well. So I just don't see, and that's just the thing. That's just the, even if United were to compromise on some wages, 20 million pounds is not a lot for wan-Bissaka. Really, it's not. He's quite a good player actually. But the problem is those salary wages are so high. 40 million pounds for Jadon Sancho is not a lot. It's quite reasonable. If you consider that Mason Mount, Chelsea demanded 55 million for him, if you consider that there are other players that are around that, and Chelsea want around 30, 40 for Conor Gallagher as well. So if Gallagher is worth 40 million euros, surely Jadon Sancho is worth 40 million pounds as well. So they're not big. The transfer demands are not that big. The problem is these guys are on such massive wages that you struggle to get them off. 350, Sancho's making 300, 350 grand a week. How do you get that off the books? Right? So that's the big issue at the moment that Manchester United have, is getting rid of those players. And so I feel wan-Bissaka will stay. There's talk that he might even run down his contract and then look for a free transfer. I say, and again, I could see that happening, because players these days are more than open to, to running down their contracts, because they know that at the end of it, because wan-Bissaka knows he's not getting the wages that he's getting at Manchester United or anywhere else. He's not getting that. He's not worth it. He's not going to get it. But what he does know is that as a free agent, he will have more leeway in terms of getting maybe a big signing on bonus, right? Which he won't get as if he's a transfer signing, he won't get a big signing on bonus. But as a free agent, he could get a big signing on bonus, and that will cover the wage loss that he will have when he leaves Manchester United, which is going to happen anyway. So he's definitely looking at it from that perspective as well. It was what happened to Jesse Lingard as well. If as much as Nottingham Forest didn't work out for him, I'm pretty sure he got a nice little big signing on bonus going to Nottingham Forest. So it is. I see wan-Bissaka staying. I see wan-Bissaka staying. I see Maguire staying. Definitely Anthony is going to stay because nobody wants him. I can see Jadon Sancho staying as well. Lindelof, I could see him leaving because I think they'll reduce their transfer fee demands eventually, and that's sort of 7+5. McTominay will have interest because of his goals, because of his ability to score goals from midfield. Again, it won't be. I don't think he will go for 30 million, but probably 20-25 million. There is a deal that could be done there. And his wages are not that high. McTominay's wages are not that high, so he will have interest as well. And that's 6. I'm wondering who the 7th player is, but I can see 1 or 2 going for not the fee that United demand, but I can see them going. But majority of the 7, I see them staying. I don't see them going because, and even Casemiro, actually, 7th Sorry Casemiro. I can't see him going either because his wages are humongous, and he doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to compromise on that. And United obviously want a transfer fee for him, at least somewhat, to recover what they paid for him. So it's all sorts of things, and I feel like after the promising start of a window, I think we're now getting into the dog days of that, and we'll see how United can navigate out of that, because right now I don't think they can buy any players without selling first, and they're not able to sell players. So it is going to be a catch-22 situation. But on that note, of course, Hannibal Mabry is going to Rangers on loan. Another deal that is not a good look for United for me, because again, Hannibal should be sold. Why is he going on loan? There's no point in keeping. The reason he's going on loan is because nobody wants to buy him. Again, a player that nobody wants to buy, who's going to sit there. A loan deal benefits. I mean, it benefits Rangers because they get a player, without really paying much. But Hannibal, it's fine. He's going to go to Rangers. I don't think he was that good when he played against them, so I don't know what they see in him. But maybe he'll get some game time. I don't think he'll be making much of an impact at Rangers. The way that Rangers played, I just don't see him making much of an impact. So again, he's going to come back next season, and again, if they'll have to figure out a way to either offload him or whatever. But yeah, it's not a good deal that United are looking at. But again, nobody wants to buy him, so you've got to loan him. What else do you do? Anyway, moving on from that, well, that's enough Manchester United talk for one day. We'll move on. And Paris Saint-Germain, actually, there is one more talk about Manchester United, but it's related to Paris Saint-Germain. Paris Saint-Germain are closing in on a deal for Joao Neves. That deal is likely to be done. Somebody had said it could be done by the end of the week. On Sunday, somebody had said it could be done by the end of this week. It does look likely that it's going to be done. They're kind of moving very fast. 60 million euros plus 10 million euros in add-ons. It's a steal of a deal for somebody who was talked of as being a 100 million euro player at the start of the summer. PSG getting him for that price, I think, is pretty good. They're also the only thing that is left to discuss. Neves has already agreed personal terms with PSG, so that's not an issue. The only part that is left to discuss is the fact that PSG are trying to see also that give them free loans. So like they're looking at maybe giving Renato Sanchez on loan to Benfica. They might be looking at one or two other players as well, just sort of a sweetener. So they're kind of discussing that. Kind of like a gesture, I guess, from PSG to try to offload a couple of players as well. So that is the only part that is remaining. So probably by tomorrow or day after, you might get a here we go with Neves. So that deal will be done. And I think it's a fantastic deal for PSG. I think to get that sort of player who's very highly rated, who people have been talking about so much, didn't have the best of Euros, but still very very highly rated. To get him for that fee, I think is a massive deal. What that does mean is that they might now be more amenable to selling Ugart or loaning him at least, because obviously they can't, because they've already got Vitinha in that position as well. So they don't need three. So they will probably look at getting Ugart. So now maybe with Ugart it might be a little bit easier, because at the moment what with the last we heard was that PSG wanted big money. They wanted 65 million pounds for him. We were all thinking that United could do it for 37, but PSG apparently don't want that. They want more. And so then that deal kind of stalled. So it might be possible now that Neves has been sold. They will need some cash to balance the books. So they might be more agreeable to a sale. I think 35 million pounds. I think 37 million euros, or 30, I don't know what it's pounds or euros. But I think 35 million pounds is a fairly reasonable deal for you. He isn't that good. He's a bench player for PSG. He's not a starter for them. He's quite young, so he's still he's not like a finished article yet. I don't think more than 35 makes sense to pay for Ugart at this point. Hopefully United won't overpay for him, and hopefully this deal can be done quickly. But if they don't, then who do they go for? I guess Yusuf Fofana is an option, but let's see what happens. Once this Neves deal is done, I suspect the Ugart deal will move quickly in one direction. Like either United will go and make a bid, and either that will get accepted or rejected, and then Ugart will go to another club, or it will be accepted, and then he'll just come to Manchester United. But I see the Ugart deal accelerating once this Neves deal is done. I wouldn't be surprised if, say, by next week we'll have clarity on whether Ugart is going to Manchester United or not. I wouldn't be surprised by that, provided the Neves deal is done as expected by Saturday. By tomorrow Saturday, I think we'll probably get a lot of clarity. So one to keep an eye on from that perspective, like how one transfer influences the other kind of thing. But yeah, that's another important piece of news. Also, another news, of course, is that Jared Branthwaite has said he's not going to sign a new Everton contract. So Everton were going to offer Jared Branthwaite a new contract because they wanted to keep him. But Branthwaite has said, unless you're going to give me the £160,000 that Manchester United are willing to give me, I am not going to sign a new contract. And I don't think Everton are going to give him that new contract. Everton are skint. They don't have money. Their takeover has collapsed. So I don't think they can afford to give Branthwaite £160,000 a week. And if I'm Branthwaite, I would say that's a very good decision, because Branthwaite next season, even if he doesn't leave Everton this season, he's going to have a lot of clubs interested in him next season. And the moment you sign a new contract, what that gives Everton is power over transfer fee. Everton are going to want, if they want 70 million pounds now, right? They want 70 million pounds now. He's going to get better. I think he's going to have a better season next season. He could have a worse season, but the only way clubs are going to be interested is if he has as good a season next one as he has this one. So if he has a very good season next season, and Everton have given him a new contract, they're going to want at least 80, 85, even 90 million pounds. And how many clubs are going to be able to afford that, right? Whereas if he doesn't sign a new contract, his wages will be lower. So more clubs will be interested. And because he's already run down one more year of his contract, his price tag won't increase, right? It might decrease. It won't increase. So I think Brentford is playing it right. I think he shouldn't be signing, unless you're giving him a massive increase in wages, which he was getting at United. I see no reason why you would want to sign a contract with Everton anyway. And Everton are going to be in trouble next season as well. Their problems are not going to end for at least another year, and they go to the new stadium, and then maybe things might improve. But next year is also going to be a challenge. So you don't want to be signing a new contract at this point and kind of the kind of tying yourself to them when during this period. So I would say well done to Branthwaite. Yeah, it's a good thing that he's not signing the new contract and he's making it difficult. So yeah, well done to him. There is also talk about, of course, about Arsenal. So just moving on to Arsenal, they are interested in signing Fabian Ruiz from PSG, and they are talking to PSG about that. I mean, Ruiz was okay last season. I don't think he was good at the Euros, but he didn't necessarily set the world on fire when he was at PSG. I think they're still, yeah, he's okay without being a starting. So PSG might be open to doing a deal. I don't think the Neves deal impacts the Fabian Ruiz deal because I don't think they play in the same positions anyway. So it's just a bit of a tricky one. I think this one will be, do PSG want to sell Ruiz? I think they might be open to it, but it's one of those where I think they need to pay. So I wonder what the price tag would be for someone like Ruiz if Arsenal are interested. It would possibly be close to, I think, 45-50 million would be probably what I'm imagining for Fabian Ruiz. Put it in the comments if you think I'm wrong, but I think 45-50 million pounds will be the transfer demand. Do Arsenal need a Fabian Ruiz? That's a better question to ask. Do they need a Fabian Ruiz? Um, they might because Smith Rowe is leaving. Smith Rowe is probably on his way to Fulham. There is an offer of 35 million pounds, including add-ons. That's the deal that Fulham have offered. If they can agree personal terms with Smith Rowe, then that deal will accelerate and happen quickly. So if Smith Rowe does go, then I think yes, they might need Fabian Ruiz for as a cover for Odegaard, competition for him. If Smith Rowe is not going, then it becomes a purchase that they do to improve the squad depth. But whether Arsenal could afford to do the deal, with Smith Rowe staying is another matter. But if it is the deal, I'm actually kind of I would applaud Arsenal. I would applaud Arsenal if they are moving for Fabian Ruiz and selling Smith Rowe, because that is the kind of deal that you want to see Arsenal doing. Let go of a squad player who's not been that good for a year or two, and you bring in someone who's better, and that improves the squad as a whole, and it increases competition for Odegaard as well. So yeah, I would applaud Arsenal if they could get that deal done over the line, but it won't be easy. I think they will need to stump up a lot of cash for him, because PSG won't let him go on the cheap, and they don't need to. They don't need to let him go on cheap. So, but let's see. Let's see if that deal. If Arsenal, I mean, that's the kind of deal Arsenal should do. Fabian Ruiz is the kind of deal that Arsenal should do. It's the kind of deal that they don't do often. So I hope they do that deal. For their sake, I hope. For the Premier League's sake, I hope they do that deal. But let's see. Let's see if they actually go through with it. Clubs get linked to players all the time, and then nothing ever comes of it. Maybe this one will be different. Maybe this one will be different. And technically not with Arsenal, but some of there's Ivan Toney actually wants to go to Tottenham Hotspur. Like, his interest is in going to Tottenham Hotspur. I don't know why Ivan Toney wants to go to Tottenham Hotspur, but apparently his interest is actually going to Tottenham Hotspur. He's not interested in some of the other clubs that have been linked with him. Maybe he's a fan of Spurs. I'm not sure, but Arsenal need the striker. I think they were linked with Toney at one point in time, but that's gone a bit cold. Any deal for Toney, though, will not happen in the summer. I don't think he's going to go now, because Brentford want 50, 60, I think, million pounds for him, because they need that much, because to replace him, they'll have to pay that much. So they want massive money for him. And I don't think any club is going to pay it at this moment in time. Arsenal really need a striker. They should be looking at him, but they are not. So he might well have to wait till next summer, because I think his contract expires next year. So he will run his contract down. He has said that he doesn't mind running his contract down and then going next summer. So he'll probably look at doing that. But his preference is to go to Tottenham Hotspur instead of some of the other clubs that are chasing him, which is interesting to me if it's true. But yeah, I would have to question the motivation behind that. Like, Spurs, I mean, they're not in the best shape at the moment. They're not. They're not even in Europe. Are they in Europe next? No, they are in Europe. They are in the Europa League next season. They are in Europa League next season, but I don't see them making the Champions League spots next season either. So it is an interesting choice. There's an interesting choice, but we'll see what happens with Ivan Toney. This is coming from Talksport, though. Yeah, I didn't make a note. There's coming from Talksport, so it's probably not reliable. That's also, yeah, it's probably not that reliable. Talksport are not that reliable when it comes to transfer news. So I think somebody just made this up. And put it out there. But I don't think Tony is interested in going to Spurs. And finally, I think a little bit of Chelsea related news that we're going to talk about. So Real Madrid and Chelsea are exploring a swap deal. So Andre Lunin, who I think is terribly underrated as a goalkeeper, I think he had a very good season last season for Real Madrid. No idea why Real Madrid went for Kepa when they had Lunin, but Lunin, Kepa kind of got a couple of games, then Lunin came in and just took over, and pretty much was first choice until Thibaut Courtois came back. Had a very good season. But he now wants, and having seen that, I think he now wants to go somewhere where he can be number one, which you understand with goalkeepers, right? Goalkeepers don't all, unfortunately, you can only play one goalkeeper in one team. So he's kind of thinking, right, I want to go and play, and having proven himself to be a good goalkeeper, I think he's a very good goalkeeper who's probably would be more appreciated if he wasn't behind Thibaut Courtois at Real Madrid. He said he wants to leave Real Madrid. Like, he wants to get more game time. So either he wants to, do that at Real Madrid if he can, but if not, he wants to move on and go to another club. So at the moment, Chelsea and Real Madrid are in discussions, because Chelsea do need a goalkeeper. I think Robert Sanchez is probably out, and Petrovic was good, but but Lunin would be an upgrade on Petrovic, I feel. So they are, and Kepa wants to go to Real Madrid because he's realized that he's not going to be number one at Chelsea anyway. And if you're going to be number two, why not be number two at Real Madrid? So he wants to go back. He was on loan there, by the way, last season, of course, as I mentioned. So he wants to go to Real Madrid again and play there. So even if it says number two, he doesn't mind being a number two. So he wants to go to Real Madrid. So Chelsea and Madrid are now kind of thinking, can we do a swap deal where Lunin goes to Chelsea and Kepa goes to Real Madrid? If Real Madrid get cash for it and they get a decent amount of cash for it, I think it's a good deal for Real Madrid to do, because as much as, they would want to keep Lunin, right? You don't want to lose Lunin because he's such a good number two. He probably should be number one, but he's a very good number two, of course. So they will want to keep him. But goalkeepers is like that, right? Sometimes and often, because you can only play one goalkeeper at a time, it's very hard to keep your second goalkeeper. If you have a very good second goalkeeper, it's hard to keep them because at some point they'll want to go and be number one. So it's understandable. So if they are going to lose Lunin, they could do better than Kepa, to be honest. I think Kepa is a bit of a calamity and an accident waiting to happen. I don't know why Real Madrid are looking at Kepa of all players, but if they do get money for Lunin, and they get maybe, I would say they get 25-30 million pounds for Lunin plus Kepa. I think that's an okay deal. I'd rather you probably want like more for Lunin and buy somebody else. But if they are looking at Kepa, I think they can get 25-30 million pounds for him. It's a good deal for them, for Real Madrid to do. Any deal that gets rid of Kepa, I think, and gets them a good goalkeeper, I think is a good deal for Chelsea. With all the duds that they've been signing, being able to sign Lunin for 25-30 million pounds, and getting rid of Kepa at the same time, I think that's a fantastic deal for Chelsea if it happens. So I can see that deal happening, and I can see them being interested in that. And I'm sure they're looking at it as well and thinking, right, we can maybe do this one. So I can see that one happening. Depends on the price, and I think it would be a good deal. I think it's one of those deals that will be good for all parties. If they can come to a proper agreement, I think it would be a good deal for all parties. I think this will be one of those win-win-win deals for all three clubs. So one to keep an eye on, and one that I can see happening. And kudos to the clubs involved for thinking like this, and trying to get this happen. So we'll keep an eye on it, of course. But hopefully it does happen. For Lunin, I want him to become a number one now. I think it's time for him to become a number one. He proved that last season. I think Real Madrid have kind of underrated him as well a little bit when they brought in Kepa, and immediately, Ancelotti played him in the first few games. He played Kepa until Lunin then came and took over. So I at that time, even when Kepa was signed, I even said it, that Kepa should be number two. He shouldn't be number one, because Lunin has proven himself for so long. He's proven himself, and to deny him that opportunity to be number one when he's been so good, was just a little bit sad to see. And of course, Lunin then eventually proved that he was better than Kepa, and he kept his position until Courtois came back. So he missed probably most of the season, Courtois, and Lunin did really well in his absence. And once he's done that, I think he's also probably realized that, yeah, you know what, I'm good enough to be a number one elsewhere. So I'm going to try my luck and go elsewhere. So yeah, I think it's a good deal from that perspective for him to go. So I would like to see him go and be number one elsewhere. And on Chelsea related news, so Lukaku, the price has been dropped. They were looking for a big amount. I think they were actually looking around 40-50 million pounds, but they've now dropped it down to 29 million pounds. That is what they're looking at, which probably works out to about 32 million, 33 million euros. But they are looking at 29 million pounds. That's what they hope to get for Lukaku. And yeah, of course, what they were asking before was probably not that realistic, and it has dropped down to 29. But Napoli has said that they can only pay 21 million pounds for Lukaku. They're not going to pay more than that. So there is still a big gap in valuation between the two, and that deal will probably roll on a little bit longer. I can't blame Napoli for that, because Lukaku has a tendency to blow hot and cold. He's not someone who may fit into the way. I don't know what's happened. I think he's someone who may not be able to fit into the way that that Napoli play anyway, because they do play very fast, possession oriented, vertical football. Lukaku is not someone who's very known for that kind of stuff. So do they really want to break the bank for a player who might not even fit their style of play? It doesn't make sense. Obviously, he's a good striker. I would say very good. But he's a good striker. In Serie A, his weaknesses get hidden quite a lot, and when he becomes an even better striker when he plays in Italy than he actually is. But you still have to think from Napoli's point of view that it may not work out, and then you're stuck with a player that you don't really want or that doesn't really fit in. So I think 21 is what Napoli are looking for. I said it a couple of days ago when this news first broke. I said any deal that gets Romelu Lukaku out of Chelsea is a good deal for Chelsea, and they should really be looking, because there are not going to be a lot of clubs that are going to be interested in Romelu Lukaku. Lukaku's time as a top level, as one of the top strikers in the world is now over. Like that, his time has come and gone. Like he's never going to be that player. Chelsea made a mistake paying what they paid for him, but nonetheless, that thing is in the past. No big club is going to look at Lukaku anymore, so they're not going to get like a big transfer fee for him, because the clubs that are interested in him are the likes of the Romas, the Napolis, those kind of clubs that are interested, who are not going to pay big 30, 40, 45 million pounds. They don't do those kind of deals, 40, 45 million pound deals for strikers. They do 21, 25 million pound, 20, 25 million pound deals. Those are the clubs that do that. Um, so that's what they're gonna get. So they've got it, and the longer they keep waiting, his price keeps dropping, because every season that he has, he did well for Roma, by the way. He had a decent season for Roma, but it's Roma, right? Ultimately, Roma, they went quite far in the Europa League. They did quite well, but it's Roma. At the end of the day, it's Roma. It's not a club that's very visible, and Lukaku didn't get a lot of even if by doing well, most of the big clubs now know that Lukaku can't play for them. So no matter how well he does at a small club, no big club is ever going to be interested in him. Only the small, maybe he do well at Roma, Napoli will be interested. If he did well, does well Napoli on loan, you might have maybe a Bologna, or maybe a Lazio that is interested in him. That's how it's going to be. It's not going to be that he does well at Napoli, unless he really has a starting role where he wins the league title for Napoli next season by scoring 30, 35 goals or something like that. And then maybe you might have a Juventus or Milan that might be interested, maybe, and even they might spend a little bit more, but that's unlikely. But even then, you're not going to have like a Real Madrid. Even if he does that for Napoli, they're not going to have a Bayern Munich or Real Madrid or that or Arsenal interested in him. That's not going to happen. Those clubs are not going to be interested, and those are the clubs that might pay 40, 45, 50 million pounds for a striker. What you're going to have is you're going to have clubs like, maybe at best you would have like Milan and Juventus, and they might be able to pay a little bit of more money than what Napoli are paying, but even they're not going to pay that much more. So, as I said, any deal that gets Romelu Lukaku out of Chelsea is a good deal for Chelsea. And if Napoli are paying 21 million pounds, take it and run away. Take it and run away. Just get rid of him, because there's just no value in that player anymore. But I'm not a business guy. I'm not an economics guy. So of course, at the end of the day, it comes down to what Chelsea want to do and what they feel is right for their business model. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Anyway, on that note, we will conclude the show here. I think we covered a lot of ground, a lot of big transfer news, of course. I mean, there's some sad news as well about Bordeaux, and maybe we'll do a video about that later. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's sad what has happened with Bordeaux. The club has had to close down. They're no longer a professional football club. They might be an amateur football club, but they're no longer a professional football club. It is very sad. It's a very sad situation. So commiserations to them, commiserations to all their fans, of course, and all the players that now are going to be free agents, because all their contracts have been terminated. So sad to see, but maybe we'll talk about that in a separate video. But anyway, if you enjoyed all of this, share your comments, of course, on everything that we've discussed. Any deals that you think might happen, might not happen, mention that, of course. Always love to hear your thoughts. Do remember to like this video if you enjoyed it. Do remember to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. As I said, we're close to 450 subscribers. I hope we'll have crossed this once this video is done. Really would like to cross 450 subscribers, so please do subscribe. Your support is very much appreciated. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Bye bye. Have a good day.